eSwatini government has expressed concern over the recent attacks on its truck drivers in South Africa. Just last week, a Swati truck driver from Mbabane was beaten, allegedly by members of the All Truck Drivers Foundation. Let's get some more on the story now with eSwatini Commerce, Industry and Trade Minister, Mr. Khumalo. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Khumalo, and good morning to you from this side. I just want to start with perhaps the facts and the data that you're gathering around how rife some of these attacks are, particularly on eSwatini nationals, because we know it's not the first time. We saw even last year a eSwatini truck driver being attacked, being shot at, one bullet going through his thigh. I mean, how rife are these attacks from your perspective?
Thank you for hosting me this morning. It is really worrisome that these attacks are picking up steam yet again, because, as you say, we have suffered these attacks in the past when Maswati drivers are doing cross-border trade between Eswatini and South Africa. We have seen a number of incidents in the last week, and there seems to be a growing tendency to allow this violence to fester. And we are here to just, from a trade point of view, state that it is really unacceptable that trade across two countries should be affected by violence of the nature that we have seen.
And with that being said, Mr. Khumalo, have you been informed as to what are some of the reasons for these attacks against Maswati?
Not formally, but from the victims, and our government has actually reached out to the victims and interviewed them. What they are telling us is that the people that are perpetrating the attack are claiming that the Maswati drivers are taking their jobs. Now, this does not make sense to us because, as you know, we live in a common monetary area called SACU, and we live in a region called SADC, and we are always encouraging trade between countries in these regions to be free and fair. And so that means we have a lot of truck drivers coming into Eswatini from Mozambique. We have a lot of truck drivers coming into Eswatini from South Africa. And we do expect that drivers will be coming into those countries from Eswatini too. We are really appealing at this stage, to all citizens of all countries in the region to understand that trade between ourselves is unavoidable. It is indispensable. It is actually one of the main engines of job creation. When we have trade growing between our countries, we are creating more jobs. When we stifle trade between our countries, we are creating less jobs. There will be, a time when the AfCFTA is fully implemented in Africa. One of the key elements of the AfCFTA is to allow cross-border trade right across Africa and to allow, movement of people for trade with minimal restrictions. So what we are seeing is a contradiction to that ideal that we're pursuing as ministers of trade in the region and the continent.
With that being said, Minister, particularly with some of the stories you're hearing from the victims that have been attacked, I know that you had released communication that through diplomatic channels you do plan to engage with your South African counterpart. I suppose my question is, have you done so? What has been their response? But also, have you also engaged with national stakeholders within the Kingdom of Eswatini, and what have they had to say?
Those conversations are ongoing bilaterally between our two countries, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our Ministry of Labour are having conversations with their counterparts. And we have also engaged the local association to look at ways in which we can do a few things. One of them is how do we make sure that there's a bit of education that happens with their counterpart unions in South Africa and associations in South Africa, so that they may, for example, understand that there are more South African truck drivers in eSwatini than there are eSwatini truck drivers doing cross-border trade. So the balance is actually in South Africa's favor. But I don't think that the people that are expressing themselves through this violence are acutely aware of the fact that actually eSwatini imports more into the country from South Africa than we export. Right. So the balance is really such that the job creation is happening a lot more in South Africa. So we are looking to further engage, but I think there's a bit of education as well that our governments need to engage in, so that people truly understand that when they see a truck coming from another country, it is actually a good thing, because it means along the value chain, some jobs are being created in the country of origin as well as in the country of destination.
Okay, we have to leave it there, but thank you so much for speaking to us this morning, eSwatini Commerce, Industry and Trade Minister, Mr. Manqoba Khumalo.